Hey guys, welcome to week one. So thank you guys for joining mine and Taylor's coaching program. It's something we take very seriously. We're very passionate about, and we're happy you're a part of this. So week one, we talk about our why, social media, and really developing our goals and systematically being able to break them down. So we look at our yearly goal, break them down into quarterly goals, break them down into weekly action plans, and then daily action steps. So that way we create like a foolproof plan so that we can reach our goals. So let me share my screen here. And throughout this entire presentation, guys, just make sure you're writing down questions. If there's something you don't understand, make sure you bring it to our coaching session so that we can really get through it. I think setting realistic goals is very important. And we'll be talking about that throughout this entire session here. So. All right, so introduction. Obviously, coaching is going to be switched between both Taylor and myself. So there's things in our business that I do very well, such as finding off-market deals, managing our contractors, social media that I'll be teaching, and then there's of course things that Taylor does in our business that she'll be teaching you. So make sure you guys review the homework and bring your questions and topics that you want to talk about to our coaching session. Make sure you guys review the slides. And yeah, just make sure you guys keep your cameras on. It's a lot more fun to talk to people when you see their face instead of a black screen. So apps to download, guys, Kajabi. This is where you'll find all the slides and documents. You can make notes on there as well, review the slides before, and like I said, come with questions before or things we should review, right? So we're all in different places in our real estate journey, and we want to make sure that we get the most out of our hour session together. So make sure you guys come prepared, and that's how we'll get the most out of it. Voxer, this is a group chat, and what we really like about Voxer, I know there's many apps have this, but the walkie-talkie feature, it's a lot easier to get more in-depth conversations happening versus just texting back and forth. You can add Taylor on that, and then she'll create a group amongst the three of us. Like I said, guys, if you guys have any other questions, make sure you bring them to our coaching session. So why do we create goals? I think the biggest reason why we create goals is to increase focus, right? So I always like to tell people, imagine where you want to end up in life, right? So for me, it's traveling, right? Right now we're in Costa Rica. Like, this is my why, right? This is why I created our goals, because I wanted to be here one day. So I said, okay, what do I need to get there? Well, I need X amount of cash flow per month, and I need to be able to outsource X amount of my business so that I'm able to take time off, 3-4 months at a time, and not be held down by, my real estate portfolio back in Canada. And as well as, reduce shiny object syndrome, right, guys? I'm getting a lot of people come to me saying, Jeremy, I want to buy large multifamily apartment buildings. And I say, okay, what's your goal? Well, my goal is to quit my day job. Well, maybe, apartment buildings sound really cool, but does it truly align with your goal, right? So this is why, even for myself too, I wanted to buy big apartment buildings too. And we are buying apartment buildings. But again, a lot of times we just, we say like a 12-plex is cool. Well, does a duplex or 4-plex help us get us closer to our goal anyways, right? So we want to really have that in the back of our mind. So the first thing we wanted to figure out is, what's our reason for investing? Do we want to retire early? What age is this possible at? Do we want to help family members or friends that have helped us throughout our life? So one of my big passions, as well as Taylor's big passion, is helping out our parents, right? So, I, saw my parents, struggling, or not really struggling, but, they were working so hard day in, day out, and they were never really getting to a point that they wanted to get to. So with real estate, I'm able to help them out. Able to free up their time as well. So that's a big passion of mine as well. Charity, right? That's another big passion of Taylor, mine and Taylor's as well, is, we want to be able to give back to charities, want to be able to help people that are, less fortunate than us, and truly give back to our community, as well as creating generational wealth for our family, right? So we want to be able to leave something for our kids, and as well as the rest of our family as well. And determining this is so important, and it's what keeps us motivated, and it's what will help keep you motivated as well, right? So we want to understand, like, why are we doing this? And a big reason why I want to develop this is because there becomes a point where enough is enough, right? And for a lot of people, they never really understand when they get enough, right? I see a lot of investors now saying, I want to buy 100 units this year, I want to buy 300 this year, I want to buy 500 this year. And all they're doing is they're continuing to buy more and more jobs for themselves, right? And that's truly why a lot of us aren't doing this, right? A lot of us are trying to buy back our time. So while it sounds cool to buy 200 or 300 units per year, does that truly align with what you want in your life? And the next thing we want to do is determine what we enjoy about investing. So guys, one of the things I want you to do after this session here is I want you to write down all of the tasks you do in your business. Think about once you have all of those tasks, so anywhere from managing properties, managing contractors, finding deals, sourcing private capital, answering tenant complaints, answering tenant maintenance calls. I want you guys to write down every single task in your business. And I want you to circle the ones you love. And then I want you to put stars besides the one that, when you grow your portfolio to the size you want to, what are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you want to be doing? This will help give you guys a really clear idea as to what things you should start outsourcing and when you should start outsourcing them. For a lot of people, we think, yeah, I want to outsource, but where do I start, right? So if we write all these tasks down, it's so much easier for us to understand, like, grass cutting, property management, getting contractors to do the work instead of you doing the work, getting, maintenance employees to do the maintenance calls for you instead of you going and, changing the taps, on a Saturday or Sunday, because that's not why we're doing this, right? We're doing this to get back our time. And I'm going to continue reiterating that. And never let one task hold you back, right? So a big thing that always held me back was cash for keys. Let's face it, I don't like asking people if they want to leave my unit. But again, this holds so many people back. So for me, it was, okay, who can I find that can do cash for keys for me, right? So we sourced a property manager that now manages our entire portfolio, as well as they're comfortable doing these cash for keys conversations. So again, that could have been a task that held me up, right? A lot of, the investing strategies that we're using nowadays is the BRRRR strategy. And that requires us, turning units over, increasing the rent, doing strategic renovations. So we need to do these cash for keys conversations, but a lot of us don't want to do it. So we want to find who's the person that can do that for us. Next, let's determine our goals, guys. So let's decide, what are we actually looking for? So for me, it was quitting my day job. I knew I needed about $6,000 in monthly cash flow. I wanted to replace my income, which was about $3,500 to $4,500 a month, as well as I wanted an additional $1,500 a month. That way I could, take care of if there was any additional maintenance requests like furnaces, roof repairs, maybe I needed to change some windows. I wanted excess of cash flow so that when I quit my job, I wasn't, scared to take that next leap of faith. And not all goals, guys, should be directly related to money. One of our biggest goals in 2021 was just between Taylor and I, right? We wanted to spend more time together. So we started getting intentional about like actually spending time together every single day. And guys, we're not in it for the money. Most of us are in it for the freedom. And let's not, let's leave the egos to the side and really focus on like, what do we want our life truly to look like? And then ask yourself, is this something you want? So actually, right now I'm recording this in January 2022, and it was around the beginning of December 2021 where I asked myself, what do I want 2022 to look like? So for a lot of people, they're saying, well, Jeremy, why don't you double your portfolio? Why don't you double your cash flow? And I thought, I'm content with where I'm at. If I buy 20 units in 2022, I'll be very happy. If I, increase my cash flow $3,000 a month versus $10,000 a month, it's not going to make a difference for me. And that's not really what I want at this point. I want freedom. I want the freedom to be able to travel. I want the freedom to be able to, coach you guys anywhere around the world. I don't want to be hunkered down and say, I need to work 8-10 hours every single day in order to survive, right? So we really want to reverse engineer it and truly understand where is it we want to be in life. So determine what our goals are. So for some people, for me, I directly related number of units to number of cash flow. So I knew we cash flowed about $200 per unit after capital expenses, maintenance, and vacancy. And I wanted $6,000 a month in monthly cash flow. So I knew I needed about 30 units in order to quit my day job. So what I did when I started is we just reverse engineered it. I said, okay, if we can buy, 10 units in year one, and then do the stack model where we basically double our portfolio every single year, or sorry, double the amount of units we buy every single year. So year one, we wanted to buy 10, and then year two, we wanted to buy 20. And then I knew if I could do that, I would be in a situation to leave my day job. So then we reverse engineered it anymore. So let's say year two, we wanted to buy 20 units in the entire year. That's 5 units every single quarter. So then I was able to say, okay, if I need to buy 5 units in Q1, what does that look like? Well, it's probably going to be, a duplex and a triplex. How much capital does that take in order for me to buy it? Okay, probably is going to take me about $200,000, about $100,000 in down payments, and then about $100,000 for, closing costs, renovation funds, cash for keys, all of that. And then I'm able to go back and say, do I have $200,000? And if the answer was no, well, then I know, hey, that's a barrier that's going to hold me up, right? If I don't have the money, but I want to buy the deals, the money is something I should focus on. So then I'm able to understand, okay, how do I come up with that $200,000? Do I need to go find partners that want to joint venture on it with me? Do I need to talk to friends and family and potentially get them to lend me money on some of these properties? Do I need to talk to my mortgage broker about getting some private mortgages? And what does that look like, right? So maybe I can talk to my mortgage broker and he can say, hey, Jeremy, instead of needing $100,000 down, we have products where maybe you only need $30,000 down, right? So having these conversations versus getting to the barrier and then understanding, okay, now I need to solve this problem. And then I'm also able to look at the entire year and say, okay, if I'm having money problems in Q1, what's Q3 going to look like, right? So does a Q1, do I need to find properties that are good BRRRR potentials? And remember, guys, let's not always try and go with home run deals because we're going to get held up. Out of I think maybe we've purchased 25, 30 properties now, we've probably purchased 7 or 8 home runs. The other 20 or 30 are just second base hits. But the cool thing about real estate is we own it for a long period of time. So just because we don't get all our money out on day one, doesn't mean we can't refinance it in year 2 and get, at that point, all of our money back out. And then in year 6, refinance it again, and then potentially purchase another property with the refinance money, right? So a lot of people get hung up with, it has to be a perfect BRRRR. And it's something that will really hold us back if that's all we're thinking about is only finding home run deals. Because as we all know it, the market's really hot. And, homeowners or investors, they're not going to put, their duplex that's worth $300,000 on the MLS for $200,000 because they want to, help everybody else out, right? So we have to do the work, the upfront work to, find these good deals. And we want to think outside the box, right? Are there ways where I can add bedrooms to this property? Are there ways where I can add another unit? One of the strategies that we're using in Chatham is we're buying fourplexes that are on big lots. And what I'm thinking about is, eventually adding a coach house in the backyard, which is then going to be an additional unit. So when, Chatham all of a sudden starts becoming, where we can purchase units for $150,000 per unit on the MLS, or I can go and build a brand new, 2-bedroom coach house in my backyard for $150,000, then I'm going to start utilizing that strategy. So again, we just want to think outside the box, and we want to really try and think, how not a lot of people are thinking. It goes a long way. So like I said, we want to break this down into quarterly goals and then determine what our next actions are required, weekly. So kind of going back to what I was saying on the previous slide, if money is one of the biggest problems we're going to have, a weekly action that we can take is, hey, every single week, I'm going to reach out to 3 friends and family, and I'm going to spark curiosity in them. And I'm going to say, hey, have you guys ever thought about, investing in real estate? Or, hey, do you have equity in your home? Right. So I was talking to a lady the other week, and, she has a $1.5 million house that's just paid off. And I said, there's like $1 million you could, invest where, all of a sudden, hey, you're paying 2.5% on this HELOC that you could take out on your property, but then you can go and make 10%. What's an additional $7,500 a month of technically free money that you're making, right? But again, a lot of people don't know this. So as investors, we want to always be educating other people about the opportunities that real estate provides. Again, we want to put it out there. If you need money or if you need partners, you want to let people know. Really good point that I made to one of our coaching students, this would have been a year ago, is he said, Jeremy, nobody wants to joint venture with me. I said, okay, how many people know about you? like total. So he said, I probably know 100 people. And I said, how many people know you invest in real estate? He said, one. I said, well, there's a problem, right? We want to let everybody know. Everybody knows, Jeremy and Taylor as the real estate investors, but it wasn't always like that, right? We had to put ourselves in vulnerable situations. We had to put ourselves out there on social media. We had to bring up conversations and, with people that never knew about real estate investing. And it all starts with that first conversation, and it gets easier and easier as you go. So yeah, like I said, an example of a weekly action is to talk to one person about potentially being a joint venture on your deal, analyzing deals, X amount of deals per week, offering on, 3 properties per week until you get one under contract. And then put this somewhere that you can view and update daily. So I'm going to show you guys what Trello looks like. I'm just going to get my screen up over here. All right, so Trello. So this is typically how this is where Taylor and I really started organizing our goals. So what we do is we organize all of our tasks. So we have non-urgent, non-important. These are basically back burner tasks. So something that probably has nothing to do with real estate. Then we have important tasks. So these are tasks that we're going to schedule in our calendar and say, hey, we're going to do this in a couple days from now. And then we have important urgent. So an important urgent task could be, hey, I'm closing on a property next week and I need insurance. That's an important urgent task, right? Because if you don't do that one task, things aren't going to happen. And then what we can do here, so you can simply go to here and you can add a card. What I really like about Trello is there's an app on your phone. So, we're all busy, we're all working. And, things come up sometimes and it's so easy to forget about things. And so I simply just open the app on my phone, add it to the card, and then I can go back later when I'm, sitting down at the computer and actually doing work. And then once we're done, we can simply drag it from here over to the done section. And what I really like about this, and something we're going to talk about more on, is when we have our weekly meetings, we're able to really look at, okay, how much did we get done? And if we're finding that we're not getting a lot of traction in our business, and, when we have our weekly meetings, we notice nothing's done, but there's still lots of things in, the important urgent column. There's a lot of things still in the important column. That's on us. That means we're not giving ourselves enough time to complete these tasks. Or when we go to complete these tasks, we're procrastinating. And when we as investors or entrepreneurs procrastinate, that typically means it's the tasks we're not aligned with, right? So maybe there's an opportunity to say, hey, can I outsource this? Because clearly when it comes to me getting it done, I'm not able to get it done. And look, it doesn't mean we're lazy. So something very simple for me is, bookkeeping. Like, I don't like bookkeeping, and I'll procrastinate as much as I can to not have to do it. Now, when it comes to, calling a seller back because I have an off-market lead, that's something I'm going to do right away because it's something I enjoy. So therefore, I can look at bookkeeping and say, is this a task worthwhile outsourcing, right? How much time does it take up? What's the dollar per hour on this task? And what's the dollar per hour on tasks I'm doing elsewhere? So finding off-market deals, we can maybe put that in like the $500 per hour category, but maybe bookkeeping, it's only in the $40 to $50 category. And if I'm spending 10 hours a week on bookkeeping and only half an hour on finding off-market deals, right? There's a really big differential that we're missing out on. And it's something that we as investors need to become very clear on. There's also, guys, Google Sheets, Asana. We also use Google Drive as well. This is a really good place to organize property per property. But again, it's something we're going to go over throughout the entire coaching program. But as a basis, let's download Trello, let's get it on our phone, let's get it on our computer, and let's start systematizing everything and really putting all of our tasks in one area. The whole idea behind this too is eventually we want to become replaceable, or we want to be replaceable. So if you were able to hand this off to a VA and you said, hey, here's all my tasks, where is it, right? For a lot of investors, it's up here. And we fail to, write it down, put it on paper, and put it into action. Another thing we want to do is we want to determine the city we want to invest in. So we need to ask ourselves, do we want to be hands-off or do we want to be hands-on? For me, I want it to be, at the beginning stages of our real estate journey, I wanted to be the one, renovating the properties, doing the maintenance on weekends, right? Because I thought, hey, let's dive in deep here. Let's really, understand how real estate investing works. And that's okay. So I wanted to invest within an hour of where I lived, right? So that I could drive there on the weekends, I could drive there after work and do the work myself. We can use, Stats Canada to learn more about the market, the population growth. Another good way that I like to understand, how the market's moving is U-Haul. So we can actually see, U-Haul puts out a thing every single year where they track, where all their vehicles went. So you can really, this doesn't paint a perfect picture, but it gives you a relative idea of, okay, where are people moving to? Don't overthink it, guys. Every strategy works in real estate investing. I met a girl out in Hawaii who does sober house living, right? Which I had never heard about before. She's very successful at that, right? There's people that do short-term rentals, long-term rentals, medium-term furnished rentals, you name it. There's somebody doing it that's very successful. And don't just think there's one perfect way to do real estate investing. And you can look about like, how much money do I have? If we only have $100,000, well, of course, Toronto is not going to be a city for us, right? Maybe we're going to look at secondary markets like Sudbury, Chatham, even places like Windsor. Like, where can we get the most out of our capital to get us to our goal? Yeah, and then what market are you going to be happy to spend some time in, driving there, finding deals, finding your power team? And then you can also look at, like, do I have connections in certain markets where I potentially have an upper hand already? Now we want to really think about, what type of property are we looking for? So for Taylor and myself, we're looking for single family to 4 plexes as of now. And he asked me 6 months ago, it was, I only want 12 plexes. Again, as soon as I eliminated the ego aspect out of everything, I was like, that's not really what I want. Sure, 12 plexes are cool. Anytime I show people my 12 plexes, they're like, it's almost like people instantly take me seriously when I own a 12 plex. But again, that's not what I'm after. I'm after, what works for me, what's best for me from my goals. And I decided I love the duplex, triplex, fourplex model. Why? They're very easy to burn. They take, limited capital. I can still buy a fourplex in my market, and it only costs me about $100,000 down and about $60,000 to renovate, versus buying a 12plex where it costs $500,000 to just put down on the property to close on it, and then another additional $300,000-$400,000 to renovate it. So they're very capital intensive. But really understanding, guys, again, it goes back to, like, what are your goals? Because at the end of the day, my goal, and I think a lot of your guys' goal, is not to have 1,000 tenants so you can manage them and get bombarded with text messages all the time, right? We're going after cash flow, we're going after net worth, and we want to understand what's going to get us there the easiest. So, is that single families that are turnkey? I love the single family model, right? You can buy them, 95, 99% of the time they're vacant. You can go in there, do all the renos, put in a tenant at, market rent, and refinance it in a very short period of time. Now you start getting into the triplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes. Very rare that they're just going to come vacant, right? So you're going to have to buy it, present the tenants with cash for keys. It might take you 3 months to get them out, another 3 months to renovate it, another month or two to refinance it. It's a long period of time to have capital tied up, especially for using other people's money. Are we looking for small multifamily properties that have BRRRR potential, turnkey? What type of returns are we looking for? So like I said earlier in this slide or this presentation, was Taylor and I were looking for, at the beginning, $200 a month per unit as cash flow. We were also looking at ROI. So we wanted to meet a threshold of 30% year-over-year return on our investment. So return on investment is basically money you invested in versus money you get back out. Dividing both together gives you your ROI. And then we were looking for a certain cash on cash return. So our typical cash on cash return that we're looking for is anywhere between 8 to 12% after refinance. Obviously, when we buy, some of these fourplexes that are underperforming, it's very hard, usually when we're looking at cash on cash return, it's usually after refinance, because it's hard to find, fourplexes that are underperforming that are going to meet the 12% or 10% cash on cash return that we're truly looking for. And again, once we've narrowed this down, we can really determine a market, right? If I'm looking for 50% ROI, and in the market that I'm looking at, I'm only able to find, stuff that's 20, 25% ROI, that's a good indicator. Hey, maybe I need to switch markets. Start with one strategy and be the expert. So for me, it was, I want to be known as the guy that buys properties in Chatham. Chatham. I've turned up so many deals that are even closer to where I live because I only want to focus in Chatham. I understand the market very well. It takes me all of 2 minutes to say yes or no to a property that gets presented to me. And I think I have a really good upper hand on most people because a lot of investors want to, invest in Chatham, Sarnia, Sudbury, North Bay, right? We're we're all over the place and it's very hard to develop a really good power team. What I really like, and I'll go back to this again, is it's so easy to identify opportunities if you really understand one market really well. And it takes a long time to understand a market very well. So again, even, I really know what my duplexes, what my triplexes, what my fourplexes are going to refinance because I've done so many of them. And because I know so many investors that are doing them, I'm always able to gather information and data. So I have a clear upper hand on most investors. And again, we can do this too. I started with just one property in Chatham, then 2, then 5, then 10, then 20. You start somewhere and you just grow off of that. Keeping yourself accountable is so important. So something that Taylor and I do religiously is we have weekly meetings with each other. Same day, same time, weekly. Every single Sunday from 9 to about 11 a.m. every single Sunday. We review what we accomplished the following week. So going back to Trello, we can see everything that got done that week. We can determine where we did better or where we could have done better, right? So like I said, if you have all of these tasks still in, urgent and, important lists, you can understand, okay, that's why I'm not seeing the progress because I'm not doing anything, right? It's so easy for, anyone to just feel like they're doing something because they're busy. And oftentimes we're busy doing the wrong things. That's what I like about Trello because we can really categorize all the certain tasks. Typically we want to do the easiest task first. Well, is that the task that's going to get us to the next step? With this, you should be able to determine, if you're actually moving closer to your goal. So if one of your tasks was, hey, I need to call 3 investors this week, and you notice, hey, it just keeps getting put, on the back burner. What I like about the meeting is we schedule all of our most important tasks first, and then we try and fill up the rest of our calendar with things that aren't as important. And be honest with yourself, guys. If you're failing to get things done, call yourself out, right? Find an accountability partner that's going to keep you accountable, whether that's another investor, whether that's, your significant other, whoever it is, make sure somebody else is keeping you accountable because it's so easy to just say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. I'll do it next week. Especially when it's things that are taking us outside of our comfort zone. So one of the things that takes me out of my comfort zone is like knocking on people's doors. I hate doing it. But again, I just kept myself accountable every single week. I was able to relate knocking on doors to getting off market properties, which got me closer to my goal. So I said, hey, if I can just spend an hour today knocking on people's doors, finding deals, that's going to bring me closer to my goal rather than, sitting at home doing bookkeeping. That's not going to get me closer to my goal. Making yourself known. So again, I already discussed this earlier, how many people know you and how many people know what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for money, let that be known. Don't come off as salesy. Like what I really like to try and do is just try and educate people on how they're able to make their money do more for them, right? A lot of people don't want to invest in real estate, but a lot of people have equity in their home. Maybe they have, money in the stock market that's making them 3 or 4%, whatever that is. Educate them on, how people use other people's money. And it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the lender because they're making a really solid return, typically 8 to 12%. And it's a win for you because you're able to use that money to then go and buy more real estate, which then again brings you closer to your goal. So you just educate people on that, and you'd be surprised of how many people become interested when you're consistent with it, right? So even on my Facebook, just posting, hey, this is how I buy properties. I borrow people's money that, refinance their house and get a HELOC, line of credit. I'm surprised how many people reached out to me. Jeremy, I have equity in my house. I'd love to be a part of this, right? Had I not just put myself out there, I would have never been in that situation to potentially lend money or borrow money from them. Building your brand. So decide what strategy you're going to be focusing on. So for me, I'm the Chatham investor, buying small multifamily properties. Be somebody that people want to work with. So when you're talking to other people, right, like educate them. If they don't know what you don't know, that's fine. But being, open and trying to help people goes such a long way. Be a resource to other people and provide value as much as you can. So the basics of building your social media brand, we're going to go over social media in further weeks, but getting on Instagram and Facebook is a really good way to start. And just documenting, hey, I went and looked at this property today, saw it had really good returns, thinking of putting an offer in, right? Like people, automatic, oh, hey, I also invest in real estate. I would love to, like let's get on a call together, let's hang out together, let's talk real estate. You spark curiosity in people when you put yourself out there. Facebook and Instagram, it's a really good opportunity to connect with other investors, find deals. That's actually one of the first ways I found my first off-market property was through Instagram, right? A lot of people think when you go and find off-market properties, you're buying from other investors. And where a lot of investors right now, they're on social media. So again, building connections with other people is so important. And then Hootsuite and Canva are really great apps that can help with your social media posting. Just makes it more formal. Really good way to kind of brand your content. So guys, what is the homework prior to our call? So let's determine which market makes the most sense for us to invest in. Determine the criteria for our investment properties. Reach out to local realtors in that market. A really good way to find a realtor in your market that's potentially investor focused is look at who's listing the multifamily properties right now, right? Reach out to them. Hey, is this what you do all the time? Do you deal with investment properties, right? And it's okay to interview 3 or 4 different realtors until you find one that you really connect with. Analyze 5 properties, whether that be on the MLS or wholesale deals, to determine how easy your criteria is to meet, right? So like I said, if we're looking for full BRRRRs and we're only finding that, hey, we're only going to get 50% of our money back out, do we need to go to a different market? Plan out your yearly goals, so life and business, and come up with actionable quarterly goals and break them down on how you will achieve those goals. And really identify what are the barriers you're going to face when trying to reach these goals. So Taylor and I, we always try and set the bar a little bit higher every single year. And there's barriers all of the time that we have to overcome, but understanding what that barrier is prior to getting there so that you can help plan better and make sure you're able to overcome that a lot quicker. Reach out to other investors in your market and familiarize yourselves with the area to avoid. What are the rents? So another good way to find out, what is a 1-bedroom, what is a 2-bedroom, what is a 3-bedroom rent for? Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, other investors, and then understand what's driving that market. Update your social media platform and make one relatable real estate post. And then set up systems to help track your goals. So whether that's Google Sheets, Trello, like I showed you guys, or Asana, and then email Taylor and I prior to your next call so that we're able to really get a good grasp on what you accomplished. And then at least that way we can help keep you guys accountable to reach your goals. So guys, I'm really looking forward to our call together. Make sure you guys come prepared to the call. Make sure you have your goals set up, and I'll see you there.